What's this? Oh, I think we're live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Audience Attraction Alumni interviews. I'm just going to check on my phone that we are where we say we are. Oh, we are. We're there. If you're watching, please do let us know you're watching, and we will put comments up on the screen today. I am here with my lovely, wonderful friend Sandra, and she's going to talk about her business and her book and everything that we are going to be working on and what we've worked on in the last 12 months since Audience Attraction 2020. Welcome, Sandra.
Hi, Donnie, and everybody who's watching. So here we are. And obviously, I did do Audience Attraction in 2020, which now seems like a lifetime ago. I
Yeah.
think for all of us, it's been the weirdest year. It's been the longest year.
Yeah.
For you guys in the UK, luckily, there is a clear sort of path, towards the end of the tunnel. Here in the Netherlands, we're less lucky. There's still a lot of measures in place.
Oh,
We'll have
really?
another sort of Bojo style press conference this evening, and we're not expecting any major changes other than that little kids can go to their swimming class again, which obviously is useful. But we have no clear sight on when we can travel, when the restaurants will open. We're allowed to go to the hairdressers. They opened last week, and I'm on the list for the 27th, hence this wonderful hairstyle. But what can you do? I mean, there's a lot of bad things happening because of the lockdown, and hair is the least of our worries. But I stepped into that year. I turned 50 last year, and that makes you wonder, it's was like a new decade, the big 5-0. Is this going to be a game changer? I had a lot of plans. I wanted to finalize my book, which we will talk about later.
Yeah.
Build my audience, hence audience attraction.
Yeah.
I was going to leave a 9 to 5. It was all going to be well. And I was going to sort of honor this new phase in my life and spend more time with friends and family and all that. And
Yeah.
then lockdown came. So it wasn't just a game changer for me as a new 50-year-old, it was a game changer for the whole world.
Yeah.
And I still feel like I'm there. I turned 51 a week ago, but I still feel like I'm in that year. It's a sort of Back to the Future meets Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
So, well, for me, the one good thing about the lockdown was that I did get some time to finalize the book.
Yes.
And obviously that has been it's been sort of an elephant pregnancy process. It took me, I think, over 2 years before the first word written, and it's taken me like 10 years to get that first word written for me to finalize it. And I did find time in lockdown to do that.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it got published in September. I did have a lovely audience waiting for it, thanks to Donnie. We'll address the cause a little later in this interview. But the thing is, by that time, I restarted the 9 to 5 because I was mixing writing the book with interim legal projects. I'm a corporate lawyer by trade.
Yeah.
And the interim work had dried up. So I found myself in a 9 to 5 that didn't suit me. I did manage to finalize the book. I did have a lovely launch event, but then I didn't have the time nor energy to properly promote it. Later in the autumn, I fell prey to a corporate burnout. Lockdown number 27 upon us.
Yeah.
A relationship going. Well, I'm not quite sure yet where we are, but I think we're not the only ones who also realize that you can also see too much of your partner. You
Yeah.
can see
I
too
know
much of your
parallel
family and too little of your friends. So, and then I sort of disappeared from the radar for a couple of months because I really had to retreat,
Yeah.
find a bit of calm, um, see how this whole burnout recovery was going, see how the relationship was going. And I only sort of am stepping back into the light a bit since a couple of weeks. And by chance, chance,
By chance.
the lovely Donny is uh, sort of relaunching Audience
Yeah.
Attraction. And I decided to sign up again. And you might wonder why. Well, let me explain. Because she built it out into something even more beautiful and comprehensive than it was last year. Last year, it gave me a wonderful push to get an audience in place before the book launch. And
Yeah.
this year, I signed up as a VIP because I really want to go all out.
We're taking it to this year, aren't we? We're grabbing it with both hands.
Grabbing it with both hands because this year I really want to know how to properly nurture the audience, because I think that most of us in the online world, we either know or have worked with extremely skilled strategists when it comes to building an audience, refining your service into something sellable and selling it off. And in every step, in every program of such a strategist, you will find audience building.
Yeah.
And it's there, but it's only one of the many things. Whilst basically, audience is key, because no audience, no sales, no impact.
Absolutely.
And also, most of the strategists, they are obviously teaching business and very much geared towards those who also have a sort of business, whether you're into marketing or things like that. But there are many of us who are addressing the needs and wants that are more in a soul centered space. I'm talking therapists, healers, self-development coaches, also on the other side of the spectrum, really those who help women with trauma.
Yeah.
And they feel less attracted to a certain way of audience attraction.
Absolutely. You've just hit the nail on the head, Sandra. That's exactly right. Heart-centered businesses find selling difficult. They find general digital marketing difficult because it is ill-aligned with their core values and their core beliefs. Absolutely. Yeah.
And that is what I found with Dawny and obviously her team, because we see Dawny, but there is a lovely team.
There is a lovely team. Absolutely.
Aiding her and aiding us all through the program. That is what you bring to the sort of audience building table that others don't.
Yeah.
Whatever your type of personality is, and we're not all A-type, go, go, go. Well, I am in my corporate existence. I'm way less so in my business existence.
Yeah.
Because the ladies that I address are the ones who, like myself, have been through a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
Which is, why I wrote my book. There's still not enough awareness on the fact that professional, successful, high achieving women can also fall prey to toxic relationships. So I stepped up to the plate and I told my tale, not just to go and like, oh, look, I a whole world's going to be about me now. No, I just want to raise that awareness. But that part of what I do, that part of who I am, is less attracted by the general, do this, get so many likes, get so many whatever.
Yeah.
I've been asked so many times, how many copies of your book have you sold? And I would have to go into my sort of publisher's program to check on progress. But I do not count the book sold. I count the comments that people give to me, be it on Amazon or through LinkedIn or through Facebook, about how it's affected them or even helped them. What I especially loved was that through LinkedIn, corporate men approached me and said, thank you so much, because we have a friend or a co-worker who we know that this happened to. And you're sort of the first from our circle, sort of the London City circles, to address it. So it will help her as well. And then I'm like, I'm on the right track. But it's a totally different approach.
Yeah, it's about the impact that you're having. And the thing that I love about you, Sandra, and we've spoken many, many times, is that I know your core values and I know what your main goals are. And you, when you speak and when you are visible and when you're attracting your audience, the actual, the core values for you, the core goals, you might not immediately have a metric for that, but you do have a understanding of the impact, the positive impact that you create every time you educate. Which is why today is such a wonderful day for us to have this conversation, International Women's
Yes.
Day, and you are for giving women that empowerment to know that they're not alone, to know that this does happen, you're not the only one, and that actually there are key things that you can look out for, and there are key things, and you tell the story, you give practical support to that woman, whilst also entirely allowing her into your world and your experience, so that all of those things that might touch her, that she may think, actually that's like me, they're all there laid bare for her to find, for her to see, right? Which is, it's a very, very strong place. People would say, it's a very vulnerable place. Yes, you have to be vulnerable, but the strength in that solidarity, the strength in that vulnerability, and the fact that you've gifted that to another woman, that has massive, massive positive ripple effects all over the world.
Yeah, well, as I always see it, one of my dear friends, she is a grief counselor,
Yeah,
and she was putting out a program, and it was like I only had X sign-ups, and then I said, only? I said, because that one person that you are aiding with grief, her or his energy will change, and it will have an effect on the immediate family members, on the friends of the family members.
yes,
Um, and that's the ripple effect that I also, like you said, try to achieve. And thank you for commenting, Carolyn. Indeed, it happens to any of us. What I want to bring across is that abuse, be it emotional, financial, sexual, or extreme harsh violence, as I also endured, it's not a certain area in a certain town happening to a certain kind of woman or man. Obviously, I speak as a woman who's been through relationships with men, but it doesn't matter. It can be in any kind of relationship, nothing to do with age, nothing to do with profession, nothing to do with nationality.
yeah,
And that's what I really want to bring across. Um, um, I my main goal indeed is for nobody to feel alone,
yeah,
and for nobody ultimately to feel ashamed. And I also want to help overcome myths like once is enough. Before violence, physical violence happened to me, I always thought I would get out, the first time a guy would hit me. I mean, that's what everybody says. Oh,
you
I
tell
would have been
yourself
out.
that, you
Yeah,
tell yourself that
yeah,
until
I would
you're
have,
in that
yeah,
situation.
yeah, I would have been out at the first hit. And that's what I thought. And I just want to explain the stages of a toxic relationship, so people see that obviously it's not it's not as easy as one might think.
Yeah,
It's I always compare it to the frog in the cold water, and you start boiling it and it doesn't realize until it's too
yes,
late.
yes,
Because it'd be easy if you would meet a fella and you're in a bar, and before he's even ordered a drink, he's hit you in the face. I
yeah.
mean, then obviously you're out.
Yeah,
Unless it's a certain kind of bar, but we're talking general bars here. So
yeah.
yeah,
Not a
so
niche, not a niche one where that's
yeah,
actually you
you're
pay
the
extra
niche one.
for
So,
that. Yeah.
but then it would be clear that a boundary has been overstepped.
Yes.
But in a relationship where it's first fun and games and all nice and lovely dovely, but slowly things start to change in such a subtle manner that you don't even notice, that you start to
Yeah.
doubt yourself, you start to doubt your own mind. I often compare it to guys who manipulate women in a toxic relationship. I compare them to illusionists, the likes of Dynamo. um,
Yeah.
they play with your mind, and you don't know. So if you go to a Dynamo show and he calls you on stage and he makes you do something funny, everybody will laugh, but not really at your expense, just at the situation. And when you go and sit, in your seat again, nobody's going to say, well, that was very daft of you, Sandra, not to notice what was going on, because we could all see it coming, because nobody could see it coming. You know
No.
that they play with your perception, but you don't know exactly how. But when
Yes.
you're in such a relationship, you don't know. Even your surroundings don't know, because it's usually the very outgoing, social, if not very successful fella
Yeah.
that hardly anybody would believe would be able to do such a thing.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed, Carolyn. I thought I was going mad too. And that is, unless you've been there yourself, and I'm very sorry to hear that you have been, it's very hard for people to understand that you could be with someone who would lie about the color of their socks. It's as daft as that. That you would say, you got blue socks on, and I said, nah, it's yellow. We don't have one who thinks it's blue, and it goes on 24/7. So
Yeah.
you slightly are losing it, and the more that you're losing it, the more that you're off balance. It's easier for them to come in even harsher. And I really want to unveil as many of the tricks and processes as I possibly can for others to see, but really also to make a more wider public aware that it's not as easy to spot when you're in a relationship. It's also not easy to get out of there,
Yeah.
because it's all very easy to just blame the victim and say you should have gone out. Well, yeah, if only I could have. And that's what I want to address more and more. Other than showing women that they're not alone, also showing their family and friends the kind of process they have been in, and that as much as people are inclined to say things like I would have gotten out, which is usually out of a state of not really knowing how to help, feeling really helpless in the helping, that is not aiding anybody. Because the moment that you dare to speak up, but face this kind of comments, you do not speak up.
Yeah.
Because you get hit again. You once got hit in a number of ways, and then you get hit again because everybody points the finger at you. But
Yeah.
what about the guy who was doing it? Maybe I should. Oh, thank you, Carolyn. I'm so grateful for you two sharing. I mean, sharing is, I cannot explain to you how my heart warms up that you stand up and say, I've been there, but I'm in a better place now. And I truly hope that you also realize it was never you. It was always that particular him. Um, why would we have to be the ones carrying all the burden? There's always someone doing it. And yes, I also describe in the book, we might be drawn to a certain dynamic. And it usually stems from our early childhood or experiences, that we encountered before we ended up in such a relationship. But
Yeah.
even then, the person you're in a relationship with has a responsibility not to abuse you, not to manipulate you, not to trick you or harm you in any way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
And what?
taken me a long time to see how I might have been drawn to things,
Yeah.
which has also been, very useful in my healing journey, but also to realize that they were the ones ultimately to blame.
Yeah. And the thing about you, what I always find really interesting, is that you are so articulate over all of the different levels, all the different temperature changes, if you
Yeah.
will.
Yeah.
And in that terms, you have a lot to say. You have a lot to get out there, a lot for your people to consume. You have so much for them to get on board with, so that you can reach that first audience and then the secondary audience of friends and family. And I think what's really quite confusing, and what can be difficult in your niche right now, is that there seems to be this massive movement about the narcissist.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of information, and a little bit, I feel sometimes, that same shift that I was talking about with me, that kind of expert information and then general information. And seemed to be a real rise in general information, and maybe not so much in expert information. But there's nothing more expert than being able to speak to somebody who's actually lived through it, and it's not just a funny meme that somebody's put together, but actually somebody who recognizes this behavior, that understands it, not condones it, but understands the direction behind it, and how actually you can reach more and more people to get that message out there.
Yeah, indeed. I'm very pleased with a number of people now speaking on the subject of narcissism and addressing what narcissism is and why people become a narcissist. And I think that's extremely useful, because the more we realize that a lot of relationships are not sound and happy and balanced, that's perfect. I want to shy away from why the guys do what they do. This obviously, if you put it on the spectrum, it qualifies as narcissistic behavior.
Yeah.
But like I was just saying, they have a responsibility. If in their youth or wherever they were bruised and did not heal well, and this is their reaction, then that is for them to address. So for me, what I've come to realize, as I saw a lot of information on narcissism arising, realizing that is a story to address by others, I just want to show exactly what they do.
Yes.
Like I said, you can call it tricks or behavior. I'm not addressing why they might be doing it.
Yes.
I also know, like I just said, they're well, for me, you can relate to my early childhood to see why I was drawn to a certain dynamic. And I only addressed that for women to realize, that they did not just end up in a thing like this, but also here, I just want to shy away from the deep psychology.
Yeah.
And just show you may have been drawn. This is what was going on with you. This is how you reacted. I'm sort of taking the story from the moment that the relationship develops into the toxic relationship that it is, and the deeper underlying reasons why the guy is doing what he's doing, or why you ended up there. There's a lot of very qualified people who can help you there. For me, it's just showing what is actually, like you said, very factual going on in such a relationship.
Yes.
And also, once women do come to me and say, how can we go further? Sort of forward them to true experts in the field of healing, trauma, transformation.
Yeah.
That is not my journey. I'm just there to show you're not alone. Just knowing that is healing in itself. It helped me a lot when I found other women who had similar stories.
Yeah.
But we all, it's sort of a black box thing. I address what goes on in the black box.
Yeah.
Not why we ended up in the black box, or what is the one way out of it. This is what happens within that black box, and realizing it is the first step forward. And there are many ways forward to help you. And where I can, because I know a lot of wonderful experts, I will refer people, but I will not take them by the hand on a healing journey. I'm not qualified, and I don't feel that is my sort of soul's journey in this whole process.
Yeah, you catch them at the space where actually it's about somebody recognizing that this is even happening to them. Yeah. So you're that space where you catch them in the journey where actually they just need to know that this does happen. They're not going crazy. This is a situation. Because I know myself, like when I talk to my girlfriends about our relationships, there have been multiple times where if you were to look at that, if there was a camera in the room when we speak with our husbands and we row, or even when we don't row, you could put us on this spectrum, right? But we have a good handle on what we believe is beyond that step. However, for somebody who's in that, it can be very, very easy for you to tell yourself that that's okay, that's normal. Everybody has a situation like that. Or to put yourself in a, this happens to nobody else, this is just me. And no matter which camp you're in, actually, sometimes it takes reading a story like yours, Sandra, to actually think, actually, this thing here does happen, is happening to other women. I do have somebody else who understands, or even vice versa. Actually, no, this isn't okay. This isn't how it's meant to be. Somebody else is recognizing this behavior as abuse, and what I have kind of passed off as just a one-off behavior, or that's just how he is and we've learned how to deal with it, actually is recognized abusive behavior. And that's, I think that's so valuable for people who don't have that message anywhere else. It's like finding a way for you to truly reflect on what is acceptable and how you're being treated. And as women, we are not always the best ones for taking care of ourselves first, right? We will think of every possible way to help an abuser, to help them. So sometimes where that narrative that you don't go into, you can find women that are actually searching on what their trauma was and how do I make this easier for him, rather than us recognizing that actually that's his shit to deal with. And
Truly is. I, for the longest time, was thinking, what about him? How did he become this way? Why this? Why that? Why the other? Whilst in the meantime, I was in grave danger. And in hindsight, I can truly see why they took a wrong turn. But the thing is, they took a wrong turn on me, and they should not have done. They
yes,
should have taken a turn to help way before, way before. But my brand name is Dare to Displease. Because obviously, when we go a tad into psychology, I think us as women, from an early age on, are taught to please. Be
yes,
nice, be kind, be helpful, be all sorts, which basically translates as let anybody overstep your boundaries at any given time.
and smile,
Smile, all is
smile.
fine, smile through everything. Um, and and that does play a part in, um, as I see it, the great number of toxic relations that are out there.
Yeah,
Because even if someone is, at not kind or extremely violent, anything in between that, there is still this need to please. It's very hard to shift. It's a cultural thing. It's
yeah,
imprinted in us, and I think it's all over the globe. I mean, we pride ourselves, we have pride in saying in the Western world, oh, women are independent and equal, but just look at the language of how we speak to girls, how we speak about girls. Indeed, Carolyn, you're quite right. We are geared towards being a rescuer of everything and everybody, like
yeah,
all the time. I do not have a smaller sister, but how many of you ladies who do have heard in the past, or a smaller brother, you as the big sister, you have to be this, you have to be that, you have to be all sorts. And that having to be all sorts, um, it can truly do you in. There
yeah,
has to be a more balanced way of being able to help someone, but not at your own detriment.
yeah, yeah. And that's why it's so important that we get your message out there.
Indeed. And that's why, let's go back to why we're having this conversation today. Um, um, it's all nice and well for me to have put the book out there,
Yeah,
but I want to reach those women. And
yeah,
not, the book in itself, obviously there's a price attached, but it's not about making that money. I also donate £1 for every sale made to Women's Aid. So this is not about the big bucks. This is about the big impact. I want to reach as many women as I possibly can find who could,
Yes.
really use the message to be more visible, to speak up more. Because even if they do not buy the book, but through a post or an interview like this, or whatever is out there where they can find me, can have a aha moment, then
Yes.
that is all I wish for
Yeah.
them to have a realization that it's not okay where they're at, and for them to have a chance to get out and rebuild a better life.
Yeah.
And I do get people approaching me saying how much the book has helped them, but I may not know about a lot of people, and that is fine too, because the woo side of me believes that for every woman who has an aha moment, there is a change in global energy, and we will all benefit.
Yes. I love that. And the thing I really love about our directives, whenever we talk about your strategy, whenever we talk about what we're doing in a, like in a planning way or in a tangible way, it always actually comes back to the reach. It always comes back to making sure that you are visible, you are available, so that the most people can be impacted at any given time. And when we go through this next round of audience attraction, and obviously we have this amazing book launch to concentrate on, we do have that underpinning of actually the ripple effect. And one of the things that is really interesting to me is that, and we'll cover this on the course, of course, people don't recognize the powerful nature of people who maybe are watching, that you don't know are watching, there is no metric for, there's no data to prove. And one of the things that is really, really good when you actually have things to buy, for people to buy, is when people who you've never heard of, people who you don't know, go and purchase. And that's then almost the only metric of the
Yeah.
fact that people are watching and they're seeing what you're doing, and you have this, you're doing this much and it's going this far. My camera can't get that, but it's going that far, but we only have a metric of this much. But we still have to speak to those people. Our strategy needs to include these people, not just these people. And that I always find just absolutely fascinating, and it completely resonates with me that when we are working on your stuff, when we're working on what you want to get out into the world, it's very much not just an insular, well, we just want to make these sales. It reminds me the layer outside the layer outside the layer, and then that woman who is educated, who speaks to her friend, who speaks to her friend. And I love that. I think from a satisfaction, like a joy in that combined alignment that we have for supporting and empowering women is just special.
No, because that's what I truly love about your way of teaching, Doni. Yes, if you're watching there and thinking, I have an inkling of what I'm doing or want to do, and I really want to make my messaging geared towards those that would need it most, you're at the right place. But you get this bonus. You get the fact that Doni will help you sort of define your circle, the best way to address them. But at sort of the outskirts of the circle, there are those little dots. And in the messaging or the way of finding people that Donnie teaches you, through those little dots, other circles are indeed aligned. And that is unique about audience attraction, as opposed to other strategists who help you on your knees, find your niche in your circle and get a lot of sales there. It's just the joining the dots of all the other circles that makes this program so very special. It's seeing beyond the circle, beyond the initial audience.
Yeah, it is. I was so enthralled in what you were saying then. I was like, yeah, that's so true. I wasn't ready to talk. But that is the absolute truth. And I love the fact that you recognize that in me as well, because obviously Sandra, you've worked with me a lot now. You're in Pro Members, and we've known each other, and we're in constant communication as well, which is always lovely. And I think sometimes it can be difficult if you've only just come across us to truly know what our key values are, what our core values are. But one of the great things about these last 2 weeks is we do have an opportunity to let people know about that. And the resounding thing that comes by about everybody that's been on Audience Attraction is that they have some really amazing thoughts and feelings to share with the world, and amazing offers, amazing things to sell, amazing businesses. Of course, we want to make money, we want to support ourselves so that we can continue further, but we have this very, very unique and special bond. And that in itself allows us to approach this in a completely different way, in a way that perhaps, I mean, I know that the Audience Attraction model, the Audience Attraction course can't be found anywhere else. It is devised of key individual elements of my experience that we have married together. However, it's not just that, like you say, the kind of universal energy, the aligned energy, it comes from a different space. We are not ever going to have to rely on this hard sell. We're never going to have to rely on these beige, boring, do this, do that marketing techniques, because what we actually create is so bespoke, it's so unique that it really does the work for you. It serves you.
Yeah, true. We work within the group, but it's like you say, it's not just a group program. We get the same basics,
Yeah.
but we get so much help in building truly the best way for our audience, and that you hardly, well, I've not seen it before in any other program. You get a general layout that will work for a lot of people, but here is the perfect combination of the group program, the group energy, and a very bespoke end results on which you can build. Because it's not like, okay, now I've built on my audience for 3 months and that's it. No, it's a step up for building more and further and deeper, or whatever your heart desires.
Yeah.
I'm not going back for nothing. I was truly on my way. Then went into this. I don't want to be seen, as can happen to well, even to me. And now I really want to bring myself back and nurture my audience properly and give it a new push, and then continue it. And it's a resource always to tap into, and the group spirit is extremely high. I made a lot of friends in the last round, that have kept me going, and I'm looking forward to meeting the new group.
It's such a good intake this year. I know I keep getting excited about it, but I cannot tell you the caliber of lady that has joined Audience Attraction this year. It is immense. It's going to be off the charts, and I know that we're going to be an extremely good company. I know that those friendships are already forming. Actually, it's already starting, and that energy is lovely. And I'm just really looking forward to us getting together and working through all of this amazing stuff together. And I have to ask you a question, Sandra, because I asked all the others, so I'm going to ask you too. It's a toughie. What was your favourite thing about Audience Attraction last year?
The favorite thing, it has to be the group spirit. It's second to none. I mean, your wisdom is exquisite. You know your stuff. With respect to any sort of tool, but especially Facebook that's out there to build an audience, Donnie knows, truly people, Donnie knows what's going on and what's going to be on way before many others do. And she can steer you towards the best way to get your message out, taking into account what's going to happen on the platform. So it's perfect. But the group energy, wonderful.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
nobody is left behind. Nobody has to feel behind. There is space to work through the modules, to get feedback on whatever you're working on. It's for you if you're really just starting. It's also for you if you've been at it for a while, but are in a sort of plateau, not really knowing how to improve your impact. This is the place to be. It truly is.
Yay. That's lovely. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, darling. I really appreciated that. And of course, I mean, we have a lot of work to do in terms of getting that wonderful message and book out there. I'm going to leave it there today, guys. And thank you, Carolyn, for your lovely comments and for watching us all the way through. If you're joining us on replay, please do give us a hashtag replay. Me and Sandra will be around and we'll take a look at the comments, and we will see you guys later.